Hello, my name is Tom Harrod, and I'm the Associate Director for Reference Instruction and Access at the Himmelfarb Health Sciences Library. Here you can see a rundown of the topics that will be covered during this series, including the topic for this video, which is the creation of an effective non-duplication search. In the prior video, I discussed some literature search basics. If you've not watched that one, I would recommend doing so, as the concepts covered in that video will be incorporated in this video. In the next video, I'll talk about how to perform a literature search for alternatives to painful animal procedures. Here's an outline of what we'll be discussing in this video. We'll start with a brief reminder about Section 20 of GW's IACUC application. Then we'll talk about how to go about creating an effective non-duplication literature search. And I'll give an example of such a search. And finally, I'll talk about how to get assistance with your search. As a quick reminder, Section 20 of GW's IACUC application is the part that requires researchers to perform two literature searches. One showing that their work has not already been done, i.e. a non-duplication literature search, and a second one looking for alternatives to any painful animal procedures described in the application. Searches must be done across two databases for each topic, for a total of 4 searches. And here are the required fields for those searches. That is what you will need to report in Section 20. As a reminder, IACUC members analyze this section to make sure that researchers did a thorough and appropriate search, that they made an earnest attempt to locate relevant literature. An incomplete or shallow search, or one that is not reported properly, may cause the application to be returned to the researcher with a request for modifications. So it's my hope in these videos to give you the necessary skills to run a search that will get accepted at the first submission. For the non-duplication search, you are trying to find articles related to your topic to see if results already exist which would preclude the need for the research. Or, alternatively, you may find results which would prompt you to alter the purpose of your research to something new. I'm going to run through an example, which is shown here. Does exposure to e-cigarette vapor lead to lung cancer in mice? For this, I'm going to begin by breaking my question down using one of several possible frameworks. The two I will show here are perhaps the most common of those frameworks, PICO and PO. You can see here what PICO and PO stand for. PICO is population, intervention, control, and outcome. PO is population, exposure, and outcome. The choice between them will depend on the nature of the question you're asking. For my question, I've decided to use PO. The idea is that I extract the population, exposure, and outcome elements of my question. So here, my population of interest, based on my question, is mice, but I'm not going to stop there. I want to think of other words that might be used by article authors to describe a mouse. For animal species, I'd want to combine both common and scientific names. So for example, I would search mouse, or mice, or mus, or M. musculus. I'm trying to cover all the possibilities that I can think of so that I don't miss any relevant articles. Similarly, for exposure, I won't just take what I have in my research question, that is e-cigarette. I want to put in other synonymous or related terms like vaping or vape or vapor pen, or an abbreviation like e-cig. Again, putting in as many possibilities as I can think of so my search is as thorough as possible. For the outcome, the same. I said lung cancer in my question, but some authors might say lung neoplasm, or lung carcinoma, or adenocarcinoma, or use the abbreviation NSCLC. So I just want to make sure that I include all of those in my search. On the next slide, we'll see how to make use of all this effort. The next part of the process is to convert my PO formulation into an actual literature search string. The way to do that is with this simple formula. P and E and O, with the ands in this case being the Boolean operators. And that is what I'm showing below here. I have put the P, or population terms that I came up with together, combined with the Boolean or within parentheses. I've done the same for the E and O terms, exposure and outcome, and I've connected those three distinct ideas in my search with the Boolean and. I've also added some asterisks for some of the words and phrases. As a reminder, the use of parentheses, Boolean operators, and asterisks was all covered in the prior video. One point I want to make here, you may be wondering why I didn't replace vaping, vape, and vapor pen with just VAP asterisk. The reason is that for PubMed, you can't use the asterisk unless you supply at least 4 letters. Anyway, at this point, with the search looking like this, I'm ready to cut and paste this into a search database and run my article search. Literally, I would just cut and paste that whole search string and drop it into whatever literature databases I wanted to use, and it should retrieve relevant articles, if any exist. I may need to screen through some number of articles, but by creating a search like this, reflecting all relevant, synonymous, and related terms for my key concepts, I can lower the chance that I'm going to miss any important, pertinent articles. In summary, in this video we've covered how to create a non-duplication search, starting by using PICO or PIO to break down our research question into its component parts. Also, trying to come up with as many synonyms and related terms as possible. Then, transform all of that into a search strategy, making use of some of the search syntax elements that we discussed in the prior video. Here is my email address, tph@gwu.edu. If there's anything I can assist with as you work on Section 20 of the GW IACUC application, please don't hesitate to reach out.